sweet tea in case I get parched. But we're not in the South today. We're in New England / Cincinnati. We'll talk about it. So, oyster crackers, what are they and why are they called oyster crackers? So, my sources today are The Kitchen, Sporked, Mashed, and tastingtable.com. Also, I started on Wikipedia. I think that's sometimes just a good place to start, and anywho, doesn't matter. My sources were sure to tell you up front that they are not made of oysters. And one source said, it's a common misconception. And I thought, is it though? And I think that's because I grew up having oyster crackers with soup, and they're just normal to me. But either way, they're typically small. The ones I grew up with are probably penny-sized, but I have seen some every once in a while that are more like quarter-sized. They are round, puffed wheat crackers, not whole wheat, not that I've seen, just like enriched wheat flour that you might see on an ingredient list. And they are similar to saltine crackers, which I totally agree with, even though the sources tended to say that oyster crackers are less salty than saltines. They are relatively bland in flavor, similar to saltines, but I read that some were a little buttery, which I've not experienced in my life. Maybe I'm just getting the wrong ones. They're typically round. Some have crimped edges. Some are hexagonal shaped, which is what I am used to. And I looked up the ingredients, very simple ingredients, just from the premium brand oyster crackers, which you've probably seen before. So the ingredients for this brand, at least: unbleached enriched flour, vegetable oil, salt, yeast, and baking soda. So oyster crackers are commonly served with creamy seafood soups and stews in the New England region and Cincinnati in their chili. And this is just so strange to me because I grew up with oyster crackers and I'm like, those are like New England, great. You're right along the seashore, the ocean, you're right along the ocean. And then Cincinnati. I am not from Cincinnati. I grew up with chili. I grew up eating oyster crackers. So it seemed just super specific. Cincinnati. You're going to have to let me know. But I always thought oyster crackers were a widespread cracker in the U.S. at least. So you'll have to let me know. If you are not from Cincinnati, you're not from New England, leave me a comment. Do you know what oyster crackers are? Were they a normal thing for you? So the history behind oyster crackers. There are two competing origins, which is often the case. There's competing origins for a lot of inventions. Adam Exton gets credit for creating the cracker at the Adam Exton Cracker Bakery. Cracker Bakery. I've never heard of a cracker bakery. A bread bakery, a pastry bakery, but a cracker bakery in Trenton, New Jersey in 1847. But New England's Westminster Cracker Company claims they have made them since 1828. So Adam Exton, 1847. Westminster Cracker Company, 1828. The name, they are most likely called oyster crackers because of their shape. I can see that. Or the tradition of serving them with oyster stews and chowders. Oyster crackers are sometimes also referred to as Philadelphia crackers, Trenton crackers, or water crackers. And I always thought water crackers were saltines. But I guess some people use the term for oyster crackers too. So oyster crackers, you can eat them with your soups, your stews, your chili. But there are other people out there who eat them topped with hot sauce or horseradish. Now, I read that and I'm thinking of like the penny-sized little oyster crackers that I am used to. And I'm like, who's putting like dainty little bits of horseradish and hot sauce on these tiny little crackers? Aside from the size, I was like, well, people put a lot of stuff on saltines. They taste similar to saltines, so I can see people topping them with something. And the oyster crackers I'm used to are normally flat, but one source mentioned the brand, the original Trenton cracker, as a big ball oyster cracker. I looked them up, they look like mini cream puffs. And so that's a lot more substantial to put your hot sauce or your horseradish on. So let me show you a picture. See, they're little puff balls. They're much bigger, and even in this picture, in the soup, it looks like they're broken up in the soup. So quite a substantial cracker. How do you like to eat your oyster crackers? My mom, I think, got a recipe from a friend for seasoned oyster crackers. So there's a bunch of recipes that you can find out there. I will drop, if she lets me, I'm sure she will. I'll drop the recipe down below in the show notes or in the description. It's a full recipe, I think, is 3 bags of oyster crackers. And then you mix together oil, dill, ranch dressing, seasoning mix, not the liquid, so just the powder, and then maybe some other things, maybe some garlic powder. And you mix that up. You mix up the seasoning in the oil, and then you toss your oyster crackers in that, and then you bake it. You roast it, and then you toss it a few times, and then you have yourself some seasoned oyster crackers that you can eat by themselves, or you can toss them in your soup or your chili, and it adds even more flavor to it. So those are very yummy. I'll leave that recipe down below for you guys. But that is the long and short of the oyster cracker. If there's anything I missed, leave me a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube. If you are new here, this is the Recipes with Ray podcast. Be sure to subscribe for more content. And if you would like to listen to another Recipes with Ray podcast right now, go ahead, click here on screen, and I will see you guys there.